Hi, I'm Zealand Turner, the Director of School Communications here at the Pennsylvania Leadership Charter School. I'm here with Andrea Claver, Project Manager at EdSafe AI Alliance, and Dr. Courtney Kofelt Grove, our very own Director of Online Learning. Today, we're going to be talking about EdSafe and AI Policy Labs, our work that we're doing here at PALCS. And this is
Winging It. So in Arizona, I taught middle school language arts, and then I was a district instructional technology coach. So I was the one coach for 31 schools. And then when we started, teachers started using ChatGPT, we realized we needed guidance and policy. I was the one they called on because I was the one that liked to poke around at things. So they were like, oh, Andrea can lead this initiative because she'll take the time to learn it and then roll it out well. So when we decided to move back to Chicago, I was in the Scottsdale School District for 7 or 8 years. That's when I started to look and found EdSafe. Around National AI Literacy Day, we had a few high school students come back, and this came from one of our committee members. Some of her students came back and they were going to ASU who had already required the use of AI in some of their scope and sequence because they're number one in innovation. So they were really quick to jump on it.
I was going to say require is a strong word.
So it would be written into the syllabus, and the students came back and just felt that they weren't prepared. And this was only a year in, so there's not much we could have done to prepare them while we were coming out with guidance and going through that process. But we recognized the need to create something to try to uplift our juniors and seniors and at least give them a way to build their AI literacy. So I was tasked with creating an on-demand AI literacy Google Classroom where we pulled different resources and guided them through the basics of what AI is, the pitfalls you need to watch out for, and then strategies for prompting and how you can really use it as a tool. We leaned on Magic School and their Magic Student platform there to build some custom rooms for them. And I rolled that out around National AI Literacy Day, and that's when EdSafe saw, I had posted on LinkedIn, and EdSafe saw and reposted it, and then I was able to look into them, saw they had an opening, and felt, okay, I can use everything I've learned from both the Arizona EdTech Leaders Group, everything I've learned from working in our IT department, and of course my own knowledge. I can bring this into this coalition.
What is it that actually made you want to be part of EdSafe? Like, what were you hoping would be different as far as like what the work is there versus what you were already doing for your district?
Really impressed with leaning on a framework instead of a tool. All too often, I think AI implementation starts with the tool, and you don't know where funding will go. You don't know how the landscape will advance. You don't know the longevity of every tool that's out there for AI in education. And so I was impressed that it leaned on that framework. And then the other piece was just that it's a coalition. There's very rare instances where school leaders have a voice, students have a voice, industry partners have a voice, policymakers. And the fact that EdSafe brings everyone together is something I was so encouraged by. And that's what continues to drive me in this work.
Okay, so you say like, okay, great. Like I want to do more of what I'm doing, but on a bigger level. So it impacts more than just my district, basically. And you apply for the job, you get it. What does that work start to look like?
I kicked off right after Policy Labs were announced. So that was my very first piece to dive into, and which was great because it was really, like you said, taking the knowledge I already had, building it by reviewing the previous Policy Lab cohort and just kind of diving into working with all of the participants. And then I was able to get more into the other groups we have within EdSafe.
So Policy Labs is one group?
Yes. So then we also have our industry council, which are companies that have AI in education products. They've aligned their practices and their policies to the SAFE framework. They're SIPA, CUPA compliant, FERPA compliant. And then we also have our steering committee, which is a group of nonprofits in the space that help to make sure our work aligns and just disseminate it across the
Mhm.
country. We just believe in the voice of many. And then we also have our fellowships, which started out as 2 fellowships when I started, and we actually just rolled out a third this year.
We've gotten to a point in this conversation where you started to talk about fellowships, but even before we get to that, I kind of want to creep back a couple paces and ask Dr. Courtney how you first found out about EdSafe.
So it's interesting that Andrea stated that it was that National AI Literacy Day. So that's when I actually kind of started researching 2 years ago EdSafe and the resources they presented for their National AI Literacy Day. So I ran one for PALCS in
Yep.
2024 using the EdSafe materials and got on that email distribution list, started looking at their opportunities. And last spring, I saw that they had their AI policy cohort. And I thought it was a wonderful opportunity for PALCS to get that partnership with, like Andrea said, that cohort of districts, schools, policy leaders, and bring PALCS to the table for our unique environment where we're kind of navigating AI in that hybrid and cyber world. So I applied on behalf of PALCS and we were accepted at the end of August, I think we heard. And started those conversations with Andrea, and it has been a wonderful experience so far. Just having kind of that brain network of individuals that are kind of dealing and navigating this new landscape of AI in education.
The Pennsylvania Leadership Charter School, it feels sometimes like we are a district, but in reality, we are just a charter school that, because of our online nature, serves the entire state of Pennsylvania. Do you work with many cyber charter schools?
We do not. So PALCS is definitely unique, and it's been fantastic for me to have these conversations and learn the differences in the way AI rolls out in the online environment. We do also have another charter network in Texas, though, where their districts are spread across the state. So
Mhm.
it's that vast area. So I've seen some alignment there while they're in person. Just the landscape of it is a little similar.
Definitely. Dr. Courtney, do you feel like it has been both a give and a take working with this cohort, not just to be learning from them, but to also kind of offer your own perspective from our unique school environment?
Yeah, absolutely. Even though we have a different platform and environment than a brick and mortar school, we are still navigating those same issues, just kind of leveraging different functions. So, at its core, those issues are still the same. So, those conversations have been really helpful about some of the paths we've taken at PALCS. If we're in the right direction, we're in alignment with what a lot of schools are doing across the nation. And sometimes we are ahead because we've had to address those things early on because of the nature of the online environment. So it's been a great conversation. I really appreciate the opportunity. I get to work with Andrea one-on-one a lot through through resources that we're developing for our staff at PALCS and for our students. So I like the opportunity for both of those experiences, and it's been great with this model for the policy lab. So getting to work with Andrea and then expanding it out to that whole group opportunity as well.
I love that. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a little jealous. I wish I got to spend more time with Andrea. She's really cool. So, what were some of the first concerns you had for our online environment when it comes to AI? And then I want to know, Andrea, if it was kind of reflective of what you see overall.
It was November 2022 where generative AI kind of became open and available. So I would say it was right after our winter break that teachers immediately started sharing. I'm kind of seeing a difference in student submission. So it was almost immediately brought to the table. I was kind of looking at it throughout that winter break time to see, okay, this is going to be big. And it's going to have an impact immediately. So I know that concern right away was, are students going to use it with fidelity? Are they going to use it in a way that's going to replace their creativity? So that's always been at the forefront of our mind. We don't want our students to lose their learning experience with this new technology. We want it to enhance that experience for them. So kind of navigating it to support our staff in creating those assignments online, kind of gauging that experience, and also supporting our students through that process of what does this new tool do for me, and also preparing them for their future. As Andrea mentioned, universities jumped on it right away as well to almost require that in the following fall. So we never were in that place to say we're restricting its use. It's always, we've been always kind of navigating that AI literacy for our students, and then also AI fluency, how to use it appropriately, when, and why.
I'd say it's a mixed bag when it first started. Like Dr. Courtney shared, it you did not have the ability or the necessarily the desire to restrict it for everyone. I have seen a lot of districts that jumped right to restrictions. So as soon as those assignments started coming in, it was blocked for everyone. The want wasn't to restrict it forever, but until we have some systems in place to really roll it out with fidelity, we'll block it. And that's I'd say where we're at now. We're really moving away from the restricting and the blocking, while certain tools will always in a school environment not be allowed, as districts are finding acceptable tools to use. They're opening those up, and it's really, people are leaning into those use cases, and that's why cohorts and groups like this, it's not just EdSafe, there are other groups as well, sharing their experiences and the use cases and when AI can be used as a tool for both staff and students. That's why that's so huge in this space, because we're building the train as we go. There's not a central repository, at least yet, of those use cases. So when we can get all our voices out there, that's when we're really pushing this forward, where it's not being restricted as much.
So you just touched on something very interesting to me, which is we're not just talking about developing parameters for safe student use, but we're also talking about staff. We're talking about teachers. We're talking about how they're not just engaging with it through student use, but themselves, right?
Right, absolutely. But I think what we're starting to see as we have these conversations more is it's not just AI, it's EdTech as a whole. And rolling this out and ensuring people are using it safely speaks to tech tools in general. And so, what we're finding is while all of this is overwhelming and it's a lot to tackle, we can lean on those systems we had before. Like, how are we approving tools? When we have an approved tool, how do we ensure staff is ready to use it? How do we ensure that when they bring it into the room with their students, that it's being used safely and effectively, that it's really something that enhances education, not just a tool that students are sitting on that's replacing a worksheet. And I think that's the direction we're moving more so in now, is leaning on those systems, or even at times filling the gaps that existed previously with EdTech. I think Dr. Courtney touched on it, creating assignments that aren't necessarily AI proof, but really lean on AI as a tool. I mean, in math, we saw it move from just problems to word problems. Could you read this and then really put together the equation you were supposed to be doing, and then you could move to your calculator? It's very similar. Yeah.
It's when, our worksheets went from like multiple choice to demonstrate your work on the page so that you were actually showing your logical brain getting from one process to another. Dr. Courtney, I feel like I have seen that sort of transition in approach at our school, and I'm just talking from being on the all teacher emails, so I know nothing, but I'm like, wait, I think I've seen something like this.
Yes, absolutely. Of course, that final product is important, but I think our teachers are really shifting their focus and breaking apart assignments even further to look at a student's process so they can kind of see, okay, are they including AI in this portion? Is it okay for students to use AI when they're in this brainstorming phase? And being clear to students about when it's appropriate to use during that process. But once you get to that final product, it should be you. You should have complete kind of ownership over that work that you present to your teacher. And I think it's actually to the benefit of both staff and students to really focus on that process because you can truly see where students are at and where they're maybe struggling. Um, and I think that's where AI is picking it up a little bit more now too, in that support of students where they can use kind of that Socratic questioning model. And that's where I see a lot of the AI that I'm leaning into heading towards, like focusing on helping students through the process, avoiding that final answer. And I think our teachers are kind of leaning into that as well.
Do you have anxiety, or do you feel confident that students who are still in primary school are going to have a hard time maintaining a sense of self-actualization within their work as opposed to just being fed generative information and then learning how to kind of format it as needed for a particular assignment? I think I'm trying to get to the matter of like critical thinking skills, right?
Yes, and I think that goes into what are we asking students to do? How are you asking them to think? How are you asking them to demonstrate their knowledge? Yes, some students will be tempted to immediately turn to a tool for that support. Um, but I think having the focus on how we're kind of asking questions to students, not asking them to just repeat information or restate a fact, it's having them pull from their personal experiences as well, putting themselves in their answer, and kind of go from there. I think we're always going to kind of teeter on that line. A student may turn to that tool, but I don't think there's a complete way to avoid it and what you're trying to get as your answer. What is a learning outcome you're trying to achieve? So, kind of guiding your assessment in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one, I think that's why it's so important that we really focus on AI literacy at all grade levels. It's not just about reaching our oldest students, but really building that foundation with our youngest students. So as they do progress through K-12 school, they have the foundation to know, oh, this is my teacher said I can use AI on this assignment to help me with brainstorming. I know how to do that. And I also know how to take that log that I have with the tool I'm using and bring it back and now focus on my own work here. But I think it's also speaking to education in general and how we rolled out standards, and that really pushed critical thinking in terms of what's the skill that we are assessing here. We're no longer assessing did you read the book? Did you complete the 50 question math worksheet? we're really looking at the skill there. And so when we bring AI into it, it's how can AI be used to help students develop that skill and to really get to that overall product, not to have it do the work for them. I think of a story I like to tell. When I was in school, we always got our spelling words, and one of the pieces was to alphabetize your spelling list. And my mom taught at the community college and taught me how to use Word and taught me how to alphabetize in Word. So I taught my whole class how to do that. And I mean, when you think about that instance, like alphabetizing the words wasn't what we were trying to get to, right? We were trying to know that we knew how to spell the words. So that step for every student wasn't necessarily integral to them achieving that skill. And I think of AI in the same way, it can also personalize that learning process. So where I might have a gap or something I might struggle with, Dr. Courtney might not. She might struggle later on in the process. And that's where she can use AI to uplift that.
Do you feel like not only does it enhance the opportunity for how much information can be called to then process, but does it also then enhance the challenge of validifying information that is being processed?
I think it poses the same challenges we've seen with the internet. I mean, you do a Google search for a topic and you get a whole page, multiple pages of sources. And what I think it takes away from is that immediately going to the first source. It brings it into a way where you can dive into it a little more and you can really get, um, without spending as much time as you would on a search engine, you can now quickly see the information that's coming up and dive into the pieces that you feel fits you. Of course, there is all the time aspect of making sure the information it's giving you is valid. But again, I'm going to turn back to AI literacy. That's why prompt engineering is so important. You can have it give you the source, so then you can quickly click on it and validate it and make sure it's true. So in some ways, it makes it more broad. You get more information, but in other ways, you are getting it a little quicker than before and are able to dive into pieces that you might not have even touched on.
What is on the horizon for EdSafe to continue, um, tackling all of these questions of policy, structure, parameters? You mentioned fellowships. What's that look like?
So our fellowships, actually, Dr. Courtney is one of our Vanguard fellows for this year. That was just announced last week. But our fellowships are leaders from the AI space. The Vanguards are all K-12 leaders. So whether it be at the state or district level, they're all working with AI directly in education. But we also have Catalyst, which is composed of cross-sector individuals. So we have industry, policymakers, educators as well. And then we also have our community of women in AI. So it's all female leaders who are working with AI. Again, it's cross sector. But what we find is that by providing learning sessions that are all aligned to the SAFE framework, that are led by experts in the field, now this network of 130 people has this knowledge to bring back into their own contexts. And then we provide community sessions where they can come back and say, hey, I tried this and here's how it went. So really just disseminating and then bringing back those stories is huge.
That is so cool. So, Courtney, I know that this is brand new. It was just announced last week, but are you excited? Tell me a little bit about what you're looking forward to with this fellowship.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited. I think it, like Andrea says, it's having that network. And specifically with the Vanguard group, it's many K to 12 individuals that are kind of working with AI in those grade levels. So kind of seeing what's working together and having that group knowledge, the best knowledge in the room in a group is that room environment, right? It's not just the individual. So having that access and bringing that back to PALCS, what other schools are experiencing, what those those leaders from different educational schools are experiencing, and what we are. I think I'm so excited to continue that brainstorming process and really collaborate on some of these issues together.
So is it all about working with the SAFE framework? Well, okay, first of all, what is the SAFE framework? Who wants to take that on?
I've got it. So the SAFE framework is our model for aligning AI policy and implementation. So I love to say, like with anything in education, it's an acronym.
Of course.
So yeah, so it's safety, accountability, fairness and transparency, and efficacy. So when we are diving into each of those pillars within the fellowship, we bring in experts to speak to a specific aspect of it. So with safety, it might look like an industry partner talking about data privacy. With accountability, it might be a leader who talks about how they rolled out an AI committee within their district and named for each stakeholder how AI could be used. So we really dive deep into each of those pillars and try to provide insights that could be applied to these cross-sector environments. All of our groups have a focus on the SAFE framework. So again, with our industry council, they're aligning privacy policies to the SAFE framework. In some of the work I've done with PALCS, I looked at the AI guidebook and called out specific areas for each pillar, and as well as areas that might be uplifted by for the pillar. So it's really the foundation for all of our work.
I love that. Dr. Courtney, how has it been working with that and implementing or coordinating with that when it comes to our school environment?
Yeah, I think kind of it has given me a different lens in evaluating, like Andrea said, our AI guidance handbook. We're working on some additional resources for our staff and students. So it's really that kind of guide before I start my brainstorming process. Okay, how should this be in line with the SAFE framework? And really with any good implementation, it's having that framework as a means to organize your information. So it's not just starting from scratch and kind of hitting a wall. I can
Yeah.
kind of use that as a means to kind of gather my thoughts and see what direction we should be headed in anything that we create when specifically when it comes to AI.
So you mentioned earlier that our teachers were in touch with you like, hi, we're seeing AI hit the classrooms, and we know that because submissions are looking different, just picking up on different flags here and there. Have you heard from any parents or students about their concerns or anxieties or I don't know, anything in that realm?
I think our staff and students feel safe in our environment with kind of navigating it, but there's just still such a gray area where like you can never guarantee, right? But I think our students have offered a very unique perspective in how they're navigating it, where they want support, and that's something that we're really focusing in on. As we kind of roll it out further, what AI literacy are we planning for our students at the K to 12 level? So I've been bouncing some ideas off of Andrea for especially for those younger learners as well, how to tap into it there. So I'm excited about where we're headed in that process.
I love that. Andrea, do you feel like you and your team rely heavily on fellows to be bringing intel of this is, what we're hearing in the classrooms, this is what we're hearing from our families at home, information coming from, the home to the classroom to you? Or do you feel like EdSafe has different ways of touching base with these communities on the different levels to be gathering that data and information and to, provide some feedback?
I think that's really the beauty of a coalition. So we get insights from our policy labs. Those are our boots on the ground partners who really give us an insight to what's happening at the district level, at the school level, in our classrooms. But then we also have our partnerships with nonprofit organizations like National Parents Union, who can pull us in, like they pulled us into a piece with Common Sense Media, where we put together a guide for parents who might not know how to bring this topic up to district leaders. A lot of the time it's providing conversation stems or just the basic information for them to feel confident in starting these conversations. So we really rely on all of our group. Our fellows give us insights to the industry, to policy. All of those different areas help us build our intel. And that's really, I think, the magic of this community in general, is that we're all learning from one another. So while EdSafe has a certain level of expertise, I'm learning every moment of every day from every partner we work with.
The best snack is
Potato chips.
Soft pretzels.
so okay, but like Annie and soft pretzels with all the flavors or classic?
Classic, like Philly pretzel.
Andrea, potato chips, are we talking, first of all, ridged or flat?
Okay, specifically the Ruffles cheddar and sour cream.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
That's where we were
Yep.
headed. I appreciate that. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Cats?
Okay, great. Pizza or tacos?
Pizza.
Pizza.
What kind of pizza?
Chicago tavern style pizza.
Which is
Square cut, thin crust. You can hold it in one hand.
I thought thin crust was New York style and Chicago style is thick.
So you're thinking of deep dish, which is what tourists think is Chicago pizza.
You're such a tourist, Keelan.
It's soggy and it's delicious.
Morning person or night owl?
Morning.
Night.
Oh yeah? Okay, how do you determine that? Because Courtney, I'm, consider myself a morning person, but it doesn't mean that the second I wake up, I'm like, oh, what a beautiful day. What are your brain hours, would you say?
Night.
I feel like my peak is like 7 a.m. I'm really
You're on it.
I'm hitting on all cylinders.
It's terrible, but it's like 10 p.m. But I learned that about myself teaching, because I would, prep and plan during the day, and then it'd be 10 p.m. and be like, wait, I could make this lesson so much better by adding this.
Ice cream in a cone or a cup?
Cone.
Yeah, I would say cone.
Okay. Would you rather fly or be invisible?
Be invisible.
I think fly.
Like, I'm seeing that for you, Court, but I also know you a little bit better. So, Andrea, why do you want to be invisible?
Well, I'm scared of heights. So
By default.
I also have 3 siblings, and if I could have been like a fly on the wall in their lives, like that would have been so insightful for me.
There, where are you in the sequence?
I'm the youngest, so I'm super nosy.
Okay, love that for you. Brothers, sisters, both?
2 brothers and a sister.
That's a great mix. Good for you.
Yeah.
Courtney would fly because I also, as soon as you said fly, Courtney, P.S., you had a basketball in your hand and you were like, yeah. 100%.
I would finally be able to dunk.
Yeah. Pancakes or waffles?
Waffle.
Pancakes.
Ooh, why?
I just feel waffles are inconsistent.
Ooh, okay. Courtney, why waffles?
I don't know. I like to see it go into like the crannies, the syrup. Like a little square. It's satisfying, and I like the crunch. I'm all about the crunch in my sandwiches and my pizza, my waffles.
Is there anything else you want to share about what you're excited about or what you're working on?
I think I'm just excited to continue these conversations. There's been an overwhelming theme in this conversation, I feel, of community and leaning on one another. No one organization, no one person has all of the answers. Our greatest resource is each other. I experienced it when I was working in Arizona with our EdTech leaders group, and I'm experiencing the same thing with EdSafe, where we can lean on our like-minded individuals and also open space for some of those uncomfortable conversations to really push forward in a positive way.